Metal is just noise. Anyone can do it.
I don't know what that was.
Slayer is overrated. Why, just the other day I came across a raccoon going through the garbage and he yelled at me and it sounded 10 times better than those screamo vocalists. And you know what, damn it? I don't care what Corey Taylor thinks. And the list keeps rolling. What? Today we are going to be looking at unpopular metal opinions. Unpopular opinions about metal music. Why do people have these feelings? Why do people have these thoughts? Let's dive into it and find out. Metal doesn't need screaming to be metal. I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion. I think most people know that. Metalheads are some of the most closed-minded and hypocritical music fans out there. They hate other genres solely because of stereotypes and refuse to delve deeper into other kinds of music beyond what's popular, despite being so vocal about hating the stereotypes about metal. Yeah, I think metalheads in general have a very prideful view of metal, like the metal they enjoy, black metal, death metal, cult metal. It has its roots in history, and I think when people mess with it, they get offended. I think that's why that is. Clean vocals in deathcore actually can be good sometimes. I agree with this. I do think that is true. You just have to do it right. There's a difference between Whitechapel singing about something very personal and doing it very well in the song, and then metalcore is my favorite genre, and I don't like Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden. Unpopular opinion, I get it. I enjoy metalcore. I do also enjoy Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden, though. I'm not gonna go that far and get crucified. I almost wish it had a different name. Don't call it metalcore. Call it loudcore. I don't know. So then the metalheads won't get offended by it. Everybody will be happy. It's a completely different genre. Just call it something different. Slayer is the most overrated metal band. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Nu metal ruled. You know what? Some nu metal did. I will give that to you. Some did. A lot of it was very douchey, and I think that's why people don't like it as much. Maybe. I don't know. It was really cool. I think maybe also the fact it included a lot of rap, and there seems to be this thing with metalheads that they just cannot fathom listening to rap ever. People complaining about heavy bands releasing softer music instead of trying to enjoy it for what it is. You're gonna get that with anything, right? You're gonna get that no matter what genre, no matter what style. As soon as somebody has a well-established sound and then deviates from that, there's going to be people who do not like it. Bring Me the Horizon, for example. I remember back in the day when I said if Whitechapel ever did clean singing, I would stop playing music altogether. Obviously, I was very young and I was being stupid, but it works, you know, just open your mind a little bit. Metal needs to embrace trends and new fans because otherwise eventually you just get heavy dad rock versions of shit that was heavy 30 years ago. I feel personally attacked. Kerry King can't write guitar solos. Oh shit! Called out. I think if Kerry King didn't have a whammy bar, he'd be in a world of hurt. That's all I'm gonna say. Some metalheads criticize rap and hip hop for including themes such as gang violence, sex, and drugs. But rock and metal have had songs about that too, and Satan. But I don't know any rap artist who wrote a song about that yet. Maybe not gang violence, but still some similar themes. You're always gonna look at something else and pick on it for things that you feel self-righteous about, right? So, you know, you can be drinking a bunch of alcohol, but you're gonna look at somebody who's smoking a bunch of cigarettes and say that's bad for you. That's just the nature of the beast. Nu metal was extremely important for introducing a new generation to metal. It also influenced tons of other artists, whether people like it or not. I agree with you, 100% agree with you, and I think that that's happening now. I think we're seeing a lot of rappers, a lot of underground rappers who are doing aggressive styles, screaming even over rap beats because of, you know, the contribution of bands throughout the years. Unpopular opinion, metal is harmonically very boring. Most bands spend too much time perfecting their technique and not writing compelling songs with great chord motion and melodic development. I kind of agree with this. I feel that there is a cut and paste formula that a lot of bands nowadays use. It's like the Rise Records, the Of Mice and Men's, and the Asking Alexandria style of writing, and not just in metalcore. A lot of people don't deviate from that, but it's also to the point where there are so many bands and there is so much music out there nowadays that everyone can make. back a long time ago, you didn't have all these kids with laptops just sitting in their rooms and making music and creating one-man bands. It's just a lot. It's a lot of oversaturation of music, so it all starts to sound the same. Avenged Sevenfold is the best radio metal band and don't deserve the constant ridicule. I will disagree with you on that one. I do think Avenged Sevenfold is good, but I think Metallica is the best radio metal band, if I'm being completely honest. Older metal may have been influential, but it's absolutely unlistenable now. Hard disagree on that one. There's a lot of old stuff that I still go back to and I listen to, and yeah, the production's not that great, but the soul is there, the quality is there. You can just feel and hear and just envision them playing it, the vibe, it puts you back there, you know? I hard disagree with that one. Many of the classic 90s metal albums would have sounded much better and heavier with more low end and mids in the mixes. Well, sure, yeah, I mean, it was a new time. It was a new way of recording music. I mean, people didn't distort their amps really back then, you know? That was a new thing, and people didn't know how to really capture that sound yet. Ghost is probably the best metal band of the last 10 years. Wow. I don't know about best. I would say probably most unique, maybe, but also not, because their music isn't really like, I mean, it is unique, but it's not so unique that it's like, oh my god, have you heard of this band called Ghost? They look like death and they smell like roses. What's going on? I do think they're very good. I think they're very smart and they're very hardworking, and I think that they have become successful because of that. I don't know if I would say the best. You are allowed to like both Portnoy and Mangini. That's fair. Portnoy is still better. I like metal with loud, non-understandable vocals, but with a good drum beat instead of constant blast beats. That's fair. Sometimes with blast beats, they kind of just fill a gap instead of being creatively structured around the riffs. Sometimes it might seem like a cop-out. I can get that. I can get behind that. Sometimes, though, you just need a good fucking... It is not a competition to be the most metal. That is probably the one thing I've read this entire video that I agree with the most. Competition is good in music. I do think it is good. It pushes people to be better when they're having somebody like in the spotlight as well. Take Metallica and Megadeth. It kind of, I think it pushed them to be both better bands. But it is also, yeah, it is not a competition to be who's the most metal, who's the most true, who's the most cult, who listens to the slammiest, dirtiest, undistinguishable crap. Like, I don't think that's what music is about, honestly, and I think that's something that metalheads really take seriously, and I don't really know. Standard tuning can still be hella heavy. Yes, it can. It absolutely can. I've done videos on this where is it the riff or is it the tuning? And sure, the lower tuning makes it sound more bleh, more but if you have a heavy riff that's heavy with a good drum beat, that's just it can still be heavy. The whole anti-nu metal and anti-breakdown thing is completely based on racism. I've never heard that before. I've never thought that before. I've never thought someone who doesn't like breakdowns only feels that way because of a certain color of skin. I don't know. Maybe I'm uneducated. I've just never heard of that. Breakdowns are an invention of hardcore. Hardcore has deep roots in inner city areas, so there's that connection. Breakdowns are dance sections too, so you get wigger dancing music kind of narratives. I've never heard that, man. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I've never heard that before. You don't have to like classic metal bands in order to like metal. I feel like you're crucified if you don't, but I don't remember seeing any qualifications to be a metalhead. Absolutely. You don't have to like anything in specific in order to like metal. You like what you like, and that's fine. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I have no idea why people like black metal. I understand that, but there's some good black metal out there. There really is. There's good black metal. There's obviously some that sounds like it was recorded in a cave with a toothbrush, but that's, you know, part of the history, part of the culture. I think more than anything, people like black metal because it was a movement. I think it was a rebellious movement against religion, against government, against pretty much everything. And that's why I believe it became so popular, because it wasn't necessarily about the sound of the songs, it was what was happening in the movement at the time. Hating bands that have a bigger following doesn't make you interesting. It just means you don't like the band. I agree with that. Whenever someone says, oh my god, I hate that band, I couldn't care less. People are gonna not like certain things. That's totally fine. It doesn't make you cool because you don't like something a lot of people like. That's the facts, and that's the hard pill to swallow. Sometimes acoustic or stripped versions of songs sound better. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it also depends on what mood you're in. Sometimes you want to hear your favorite song's melody, but not so loud, right? So you got the acoustic. You're sitting by a campfire, you're not gonna be run to the hills. You know, you can bring it down a little bit and run to the hills. You can even do it in a country twang. Oh, run to the hills, run for your life. You can do anything with music, man. That's why it's so great. Standard E sounds just as heavy as drop B. I think that depends entirely on the production quality. If you have good production quality that hits hard, standard E can sound super heavy compared to a drop B song with shitty production. I think it's all on the production. But with that being said, if all you're playing is breakdowns, then drop B is gonna sound heavier with good production. The production quality on most albums is terrible. Depends what you're listening to, I guess, and depends on how much you really pay attention to the production quality. I remember back in the day when I listened to Van Halen, I thought it was the heaviest shit ever. When I listened to POD, I thought it was the heaviest shit ever. But then you start listening to a lot more music and getting into audio more, and then you understand like bass and frequencies and all that stuff, and production has gotten better and better. And yeah, so now there's a higher standard. But I think that has to come with a trained ear a little bit. I think you can listen to songs that were recorded in the 70s and it can sound really heavy. Kiss, AC/DC, Metallica, they may be the classics, but that doesn't make them good. Well, what makes them good? Is it the amount of money they've made? Is it the amount of shows they've performed? Is it their actual technical ability? Is it their ability to write songs? Is it their ability to not hate each other and break up after 2 years? I mean, what exactly is good? I think we need to define that first. And I think with music, a lot of it is that you can't define what's good and what's not. You can only say what you like and what you don't. And that's why music is so, it can bring so many people together, but it also can divide so many people because it's all based on opinion. Way too many bad songs, but the good ones are way too good. I hard agree with that. I think that also has to do with an oversaturation of bands and musicians these days, because every kid has a laptop and a guitar and can start a band and put a song on the internet. Back in the day, that was not the case, but now it is. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot of bad songs, but the ones that are good, they still stand out. Gent ruined all. How dare you? Metal doesn't deserve to be as hated as it is. I think it's actually way less hated than it used to be. I think when it first came out, it was viewed as a rebellion, as punks and obnoxious teenagers just trying to get attention, and now I think it's been around for so long and it's established itself and it's identified itself and why it's here, what its purpose is. I think a lot of people are starting to understand that it's just a form of music. It is stupid to create subgenres about lyric themes like pirate metal, Viking metal, nerd metal, Hollywood metal, and those kind of shit like that. If you hear the music without lyrics, you'll listen death metal, power, folk, etc. So you're saying don't create a subgenre just because of the lyrical content. I can get behind that because, yeah, I mean, lyrics are lyrics, right? If I write a song about girls, it's not called girlcore, although I think metalcore might be girlcore might be a little bit better term for metalcore, actually. Anyway, I don't know, I do agree with that. I think that your lyrical content is one thing. I think if you are influenced by a specific culture, if you are influenced by a specific place, I think then it makes more sense. And if your songs sound as a whole as something to like Viking music as they would play and listen to the Vikings would, you know, or whatever it may be. Pirates might have listened or played to this kind of music, then that makes more sense. But if you're literally playing a metalcore song and you're just singing about pirates, yeah, it's not pirate metal. It's for sure not. Black Veil Brides isn't that bad. Well, they're also not that metal, so. A lot of metal music is not superior to modern pop. So many bands will tune their vocals to shit, time align all the instruments until there is no character left, and they write songs according to a formula they know to work. That is exactly what I've been saying in most of this video, and that's just unfortunately what happens when you give everybody a DAW that costs $50 or free, and they have a guitar and a program that they can program drums and they can just auto-tune their voices. The digital age has created a lot of that, but the good thing is that even though that is happening, there are a lot of musicians out there who stand above the rest because they can actually go out and do it. They can actually go out and be a musician, and they can perform these things. They can have other musicians who are just as good. So yeah, I mean, digitally there is a lot of crap out there, but the ones who are pushing beyond that and have more talent than that, they still break through, but it's just harder to do now than it was back in the 60s and 70s. Metal is weird. Metallica and Avenged Sevenfold is as far as I go with it. Anything else is just stupid screaming with somewhat decent music playing in the back. Don't get me wrong, guitar metal is pretty hard, especially to solo, but it ain't it, chief. I do think metal is weird, for sure. No one is saying that metal is not weird. We have genres called porno grind. Of course it's weird, but I don't think it's the only weird style of music that there is. I think it might be one of the more aggressively weird styles that there is, but there can be weird rap artists. There's weird pop artists. Remember when Lady Gaga wore a meat suit? Like, people in different styles can be weird. So I don't think it has necessarily anything to do with metal music. It has to do with people. It has to do with the ideas that people and artists put down. People are weird. I don't think it has to do specifically with metal. Metal music sometimes makes me feel like the musician is mad at me and I get uncomfortable, but then confused because I didn't do anything. I think that might be a slight misinterpretation of their art, right? I think that you might see them screaming and you might see them flailing and punching, and you might take that in a way that's aggressive and angry, and sure, some people are. I mean, again, it goes back to people specifically, but I think for a lot of artists and most bands out there, that's just how they express themselves. I don't think they're actually angry. I don't think they're actually being hateful. Sure, some of them might be that way, but I think the majority of them just use music as a way to express themselves, to get out their emotions, to get out whatever it is that they have going on, right? And that can come across in many different ways. But metal musicians, I find, are some of the biggest lovable teddy bears that you'll ever see, and maybe that's because they have an outlet right? I think that might be what it is. All genres of metal are equally as valid as each other. Well, there are definitely genres of metal that have been inspired more by actual genres of metal. I think death metal, I think metal like Black Sabbath, bands like that started it. I believe that they have a little bit more validity to it because they're the original pioneers, right? And then the stuff that follows is more inspired by. So I think there are more big contributors. Are they all valid as each other? Sure, of course. You know, I agree with that. But I think there are definitely certain genres of metal that historically they actually do hold a little bit more weight than others, and therefore probably deserve a little bit more respect, whether you like the style or not. Guitar solos are shit and are able to ruin songs entirely. You've been listening to too much Slayer. Hard disagree on that one. The reason I got into playing guitar was because I listened to guitar solos from my favorite bands. If you're not interested in guitars, if you're just solely, you know, maybe a drummer, or you like the lyrics, you know, white people dance to lyrics. You know, that's how it goes. Dude looks like a lady. And I can't tell you any other words in that song, but people hear those lyrics and they're just like, woo. When the guitar solo comes in, do people really care? Like, if they're a guitarist, sure. No, they want to hear some fucking bam, 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 bam. You know, so it just depends what you're into. To say that guitar solos are shit, I think is just factually incorrect. For Today never had a bad song, and if people had stopped getting offended by Matt
preaching, they'd probably still be a band and would be way more popular. I don't see a problem with standing for something you believe in wholeheartedly. I don't see a problem in standing for something that you believe wholeheartedly, but I do understand that there is a place and there is a time for certain things, right? You're at a live musical performance. You're not at church, you know, and that can cause a lot of arguments about is it okay to do and is it right to do, and obviously people can do whatever they want to do. That's their personal conviction, their personal belief. I always felt that I am here to support this band because I enjoy their music. I paid $20 to watch this band, to hear them play, and when they use 20 minutes to tell me about something I already know about or something that I don't care to know more about, then I feel like my money has now been put into something that I felt was not what I meant it to be put towards, right? I was there to listen to music, not get preached at. If I wanted to get preached at, I would go to church. And you can do it in very subtle ways. You can get your point across in your lyrics. Everyone knows you're a Christian band. Everyone knows what you sing about, right? Everyone knew that Fourth Day was like that. He didn't have to stand up there for 20 minutes every show and preach about it. He could have stood up there for 2 minutes. He could have done it in between one song. You know, there's ways to do things, and I'm not saying he did it wrong. I'm not saying he did it right. That's just how he wanted to do it, but I can see both sides of it, and I can see how, yeah, that's not an appealing thing for most people who just want to go and listen to music. And to be honest, I think that For Today kind of fell apart because, well, one, the guitarist made some comments about homosexuality that I felt were wildly inappropriate, and their last two albums sounded exactly like their first two albums. They never grew past that sound, that formula. They never stopped doing verse, chorus, breakdown, vocal line, heavy breakdown. They never got past it, and they never really added anything new. So I think that's probably why, more than anything. All right. Wow. All right. Get it? That's it for today. So that's it. And I figured, what better way to sign off this video than to leave you with my own unpopular opinion about metal music. Are you ready? Black metal is just an excuse for men to wear makeup.